Thank you, Samir, to give it this opportunity to talk in this discussion, participate in this discussion. Today, we are going to talk about a very interesting topic: this building foundation intelligence with the state-of-art data engineering, new capabilities and approaches. Right. This is very interesting topic altogether. Right. If you look at the current things, right. So, what I was just looking at, and I could see that there are quite a few significant changes have been done over a period of time, right? In last few years, like for example, in this space, the cloud adoption has gone up, right? The organizations are looking to adopt the cloud as much as possible in the analytics space and the data space. There's a need of real-time data, right? Has increased from the business side, the ask for the business, along with the generation of the real-time data is taking place. A lot of real-time data is getting generated in the industry nowadays, right? We need to process that also, right? And in addition to the traditional data warehousing technology, right, nowadays, instead of the traditional centralized data warehouse techniques, like the data mesh architecture is also taking shape, right? The people are, organizations are thinking about moving in that direction so that they can better manage their data, right? And the democratization of data, right? If you look at, for example, now then the business users are waiting for the analysts, right, your technical people to process the data and then they can have some insight into it. Nowadays, with the help of the latest technologies, now they are even getting more access to the data, right? And they can directly interact with the data and see the insights on their own, right? That those kinds of things are taking place in the industry. And nothing less. I mean, the AI is basically making a huge change into the data engineering part, right? The data engineering, I would say, is a backbone for any AI product to go along, right? To manage the data, right? Especially if you look at the various activities which are being done on the data engineering, like the data cleansing, anomaly detections, right? Even the automating the data pipeline creations, right? Automating all those kind of things. So AI is playing a big role, right, over a period of time. So now I would like to hand it over to basically the Vinay, right, to start the conversation and move ahead. Vinay, over to you.
Thank you, Mohan, sir. Thank you for that great intro. So I just want to call upon Abhishek Jain from Softsensor.ai. And I wanted to start this conversation off by, delving right into the subject right away. So, Abhishek, has there been any significant or paradigm like shift over the last year or so, or maybe what you anticipate coming up, which is going to really make a difference? And we've seen things like cloud native data platforms and so on coming up. So, what is your take on this, Abhishek?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Vinay, for the question. I think in the last couple of years, one clear trend that we are seeing, and what has impacted the foundational data process, is now the AI and the data is in the core decision making of the organization, core revenue generation process of the organization. So as a result, there is a lot of emphasis on data quality and observability, right, which is essential for reliability of these applications. So as a result, we have different architectures and different uh, foundational models that have come in. For example, data lakehouse architecture, fabric is from Microsoft. Similarly, other advanced architectures like data mesh architecture, which really are flexible and scalable at the same time. For example, Apache Iceberg project has also gained a lot of traction, which is an open source table format that improves data processing and scalability across all the computing environments. Now, similarly, what we can see that there is a lot of convergence between data engineering and software development, so that being able to deploy all the data engineering as a part of the core workflow, that is also an important uh, uh, trend shift that we are observing. uh, on the analytics side also, we are seeing a lot of business specific data models that are coming in. So many a times you don't have to uh, build those data models yourself. Earlier, companies had to build all the custom data models. Now they can buy a data model and apply it for their specific businesses. For example, for healthcare businesses, BFSI businesses, uh, pharmaceutical, CPG businesses, they all have their own data models which can be ready to deploy. So speed of going to market has drastically increased. So has the reliability. So those are my in my view the recent trends and some items that we can see in the future.
Great, great. Thank you for that, Abhishek. So great to know that things have changed over the last few years, and we've seen such a rapid rollout thanks to all this modernization, especially coupled with AI. Next question was to Atul Riswadkar of Chubb. So Atul, while we're seeing these rapid leaps and bounds and growth of whatever is possible in this space, this would mean different things to different companies. A legacy company would have to approach it differently. A new age AI first company would approach it differently. What would you like to uh, give us in terms of your opinion on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect question, Vinay, for company like Chubb. Just to give you a quick 1 second introduction on Chubb, right? We used to say that Chubb was one of the insurers of Titanic, right? So it's that legacy a company. It existed way back, probably 100 years old company. So we have two step challenges. One is our legacy model, business model itself, is not very conducive for AI. Um, an example for an insurance company, legacy insurance company, is that we still rely on what we call brokers and agents to actually go to the customer and get a business for us, right? And in today's world, the speed of data, it's not just the quality of the data, but speed of data is more paramount, in addition to the quality of the data. So how do we speed it up? So that's one challenge that we have, and I know for the fact that most of the other legacy financial institutions or some of the other companies who have that legacy business model are grappling with, how do I speed up my source of data, because that source of data is coming to me maybe after a few hours, after a few days, and still use AI to our advantage in making sure that we are not falling behind rest of our competitors, as you said, the other sets of companies who are AI first. And especially in India, you probably might remember when we had a World Cup, there were a few advertisements, even on insurance, that said, I'm riding a bike and a cop stopped me and I can take an insurance right there and there itself to show him. So how do you match that? So on the back end, we are trying to speed up the process. We are doing a lot of automation. We are trying to take advantage of LLMs. The We have our own version of, suppose, say, Chat GPT, or other companies also, I know they are trying to take the advantage of LLMs. So we are trying to speed up the other side of it, which is more operations processing. And in addition to that, there may be also some innovation that will happen where we try to move from our traditional source data model, where we are getting it from the in the legacy way, to get it in a new way, where we are saying, hey, can somebody do a direct application for new policy, or can somebody have a direct application sent to our systems in making sure that their policy renewals happen within the minutes or seconds. So we are trying to do it both ways, right? The speed of data, using the AI, as well as making sure that we take advantage of some of the things that Abhishek mentioned, say streaming of data, right? Can we take advantage of streaming of data, at least to some extent, to make sure that we get our data fast and then we process our data fast.
Great.
So that's how we are trying to deal with it.
Yeah, and I think
That was great.
that leads to maybe the new next question, right? Using the LLMs and the AI, right? So the the data security becomes a more essential part of that, right? Basically, nowadays, if you look at a lot of stakeholders are very much skeptical about using the LLMs and all, especially the open source and all, because they are very much concerned about the data security, where it is going, how it is being used, right? So I would like to ask the Elizabeth Thomas from the Kantar Analytics, right? So what is the, with the increased uses of the AI, right, and the LLM, right, and especially the unstructured data and all space, right? What should the organization do to ensure the data security in your view, Elizabeth?
Yeah. So with great power comes great responsibilities, right? So unstructured data is here to stay. So the volume, the variety, the velocity, everything is increasing hugely. And organizations need to start getting a handle on how they want to use this data and ensure that this is secure enough. Because you need to know what goes into an LLM and how is the LLM using this. So what we advise our clients is the first step, which is to control the data. So that involves just understanding what kind of data you have, what is the, just scanning, tagging, and putting the context to every unstructured data that you have, whether it is a message, a text file, financial records, IP, whatever, and videos, everything, right? Making sure that the correct encryptions are in place. The basic premise being that you control the data, understand who is it being shared to. So the data shared to which LLM or to which AI application, who can share it, what part of it can they be shared, and that is something that is real time. Now, previously, right, so before the advent of, or when we before we started using so much of unstructured data, we had data stewards that used to manage this data. Now this is something that has expanded so much that it is not possible to be done manually. So all these have to be automated, have to be AI driven to actually start doing all of this on a real time. The second part of it is to start auditing and inspecting this data. So, identifying what is sensitive data, what is dark data, is there risky data, toxic content, right? So, malicious data that is being fed into models. Risk identification in terms of toxic combinations such as say the customer ID plus a credit card number, or there is some other financial data that is being shared. So all of these can have like severe consequences if these are incorporated into Gen AI models. So therefore, organizations, you have to detect these toxic combinations, put policies in place that these can be, or these are alerts that come up that if there is this combination that comes up, then what is the action that we need to take? We need to safeguard the model architectures, making sure that the training pipelines, the models are all, the data repositories are all separate, they're all secure, as well as implementing all kinds of encryption plus access control. So whether it is either a role based or an attribute based access control. And again, there are the sensitivities in terms of privacy laws, regulations that keep changing. So all of these need to be automated to an extent that these are automatically referred to. So each time there is a breach or there is a potential of a breach, these are referred to, that what is the action that is taken. And the future, what we see is that we are also moving into something which is called a real-time adversarial detection, wherein the LLM itself will recognize and respond to these kind of malicious content, identifying that this is toxic content which cannot feed into this model.
Yeah.
So to just summarize, first is controls based on what your data is, manage that data. Ensure that your data is prepared to be safe, so reducing the risk of leaks and breaches, making sure that access is the access governance control mechanisms, all that are automated. And it should not just be user identification to it should go beyond that to identify what kind of data is accessed by different models. Manage policies, etc., in place, so that if there are breaches or any potential for a breach, everything is managed before that risk mitigation happens
Right.
before this itself.
Right. Yeah, thanks, Elizabeth. So next question on that probably goes into Satish Padmanabhan, right, from the Eastern Chartered Bank. I would like to ask, like, once we have the basically security in place, now the next question comes is what data used to be used in what conditions, right? Basically using it more responsibly, right, within the models and all. So So there is increased scrutiny in terms of the responsible AI, right, which is going on. The basically data is flowing back, right, for the understanding of the models, and all those things are happening, right. Various countries, various unions are basically creating some regulations around that as well, right. So what data we are using, why we are using. So what are your thoughts about basically with this increased scrutiny in responsible AI, which flows back into the understanding what data is used, build a model, right? Are there any new regulations which organization need to focus on in the current scenario?
Yeah, thanks for giving this opportunity. Um, Definitely, there are new regulations. I think over the last 10 years, there has been an increased, I would say over the last 5 to 8 years, there has been an increased scrutiny on data ethics as well as responsible AI. So the earlier days where the focus was on data stewardship, ensuring the data is of appropriate quality, and thereby, fundamentally improving the accuracy of any predictions that could come by. But what we have understood is that there are ethical implications on the application of this data, and those ethical implications could be not just upon the customers, but it could be over the entire society as well as the environment, etc. So definitely, and the companies cannot be given as a sole custodian for the management of ethics, right? This has to be coming under a regulated environment, and therefore there has been a slew of regulations starting from 2016-17 onwards, and it has been improving over time. Companies have been trying to find a fine balance between the pace of innovation that could happen with AI vis-a-vis the regulations, and these governments are also coming to realize. Regulations is definitely a must. It won't go away, although there is this pace of innovations that is going on, right? And Gartner has actually predicted by 2026, at least 50% of all the governments would be subject to these AI-based regulations. Some of the recent regulations in India, I think earlier it was a little more stringent towards the start of this year, where even small scale businesses had to take permission from the government in order to start with AI-based solutions. But that has been lifted off. So going back to the fine balance that between innovation versus the regulation or the impact aspect of it, right? But the focus is now on ensuring that the AI-based models are tagged based upon the appropriate risks, as well as the consent management, the user consent management is taken care of appropriately, etc. And the focus is on trustworthiness, fairness, etc. Right? The European Union recently in March 2024 has come up with a slew of regulations which again focus on fundamental human rights, ensuring there is trustworthiness, fairness in place, etc. So European Union has been trying to be at the forefront of AI-based regulations. And similar regulations have come from the Southeast Asian also, where Singapore is actually leading the frame in order to come up with these regulations. And therefore, coming to Standard Chartered Bank, right, it is subject to the MAS, which is the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which encompasses the regulations with respect to RIDA, that is responsible AI and data analytics. And it is particularly for banks, right? There is a nice convergence between AI-based regulations as well as some of the regulations that the banks are already subject to, like BCBS 239, which is focused more upon the governance and the infrastructure, as well as the data aggregation, as well as the reporting capabilities, the risk-based ones, and market abuse, where insider trading is avoided. There are no patterns that are identified where advantage of the market is taken care of, is made. So this actually nicely converges. Many of the AI-based regulations, especially on the reporting, as well as many others on the governance, etc., nicely converges with that. And AI regulations is there only to complement whatever regulations that we have for the existing ones, right? And this also calls for a fundamental shift in the way in which organizations work, and as well as a mindset shift. The AI development community has to be more focused, it's more embedded and as well as implicit in the thought process of considerations of data ethics, responsibly ensuring their models are trustworthy, they are explainable, they are transparent, etc. Right? So, in a nutshell, these new regulations are coming in, but governments are also conscious, and companies are also conscious of the fact that they cannot afford to take a step back, and with the pace of innovation that is happening with these technologies, right? So careful consideration is happening. So more human in the loop, etc. Right? So we are moving in that direction overall.
Yeah. So moving on, I think I would go back to So whatever we have discussed so far, right, it basically brings down to very basic fundamental thing that what the legacy organization do, right? We are doing all the modernization, the data engineering practice right now because of all these innovations, all those technological changes, whatever is happening, right? So there's a lot of pressure in terms of to relook at the legacy practices are there, what are places to that. So I would like to go back to the Atul again. So Atul, what is your what the legacy organization do, especially when most are playing catch up in this space, I would say, right? And if you can name some specific focus areas for them.
Yeah, so for legacy organizations, I think focus areas have always been because they have strong products, right, as we can call it. That's why they are there in the business for so many years, trying to figure out how to modernize those products, how to make sure that those products that we have, like in our case, some insurance products, or even in certain BFSI world banking products, are geared towards using the latest technology that is available. We will not be able to change everything overnight. It's going to be bits and pieces, right? Maybe a 10% of our business, the 10% of our business, it can be digitized. A 10% of our business will be able to take advantage of AI because we have modernized that aspect, and then slowly turn towards how some of the other traditional models can be fine tuned to use this one. Now, doing this, one advantage is that even if only 10% of your business is taking advantage of all the modern technology, the AI innovation, all that, you will be able to get your data strategy, you will be able to get your AI strategy, you will be able to get your security and all those things put in place. And it is only for that smaller business segment that you have, where you have focused it. So my understanding and what I have seen, at least in industry, for most of these bigger companies, is that they go segment by segment. They choose one segment that says, this is the segment, this is the line of business, or this particular geography is where we will implement our AI strategy. We will have these products completely digitized. We will have these are the technologies and the platforms that we will use, and then put all the framework around it, the technology framework, the governance framework, the data framework, and then slowly go horizontally to make sure that all your other bigger businesses or lines of businesses are also taking advantage of or mimic what has been done in that one particular business segment. So that's one approach that I'm seeing, because they don't want to, we don't want to be left behind from the AI first companies. We want to take advantage of the technology, but we also want to be cautious.
Yeah, yeah. So along with that, I can see, I mean, there are a lot of startups are also coming up in the space of basically they are looking to provide the data engineering as a service, right? DS, right? You can, so it's a evolving discipline, I would say, still, right? So Satish, what are your views about that? That how this is going to help in the long term?
Yeah, see, data engineering as a service seems to be a very natural consequence, as part of this overall evolution. There has been a lot more standardization, and there is a lot more modernization with the plethora of tools that have been available, right? So it's quite natural that we start thinking of how it can be outsourced to both the infrastructure as well as the service capabilities to external firms. And right from all these steps that are involved, as far as the collection of the data, the processing of the data, the storage of the data, the dissemination, performance of any further analytics, and as well as data discovery capabilities, all of these are could be easily be automated, right? And in the process of outsourcing also, that can result in a transformation of the existing technology as well as the business organizations, also bringing them a lot more closer and ensuring that much of the data is materialized into a kind of a single store on which you can perform more efficient data discovery also. So, it brings all of these technologies together, and ultimately it creates a kind of a platform where many of these other modern technologies can also be ably supported. You have developments which are not just in terms of the real-time processing, but also looking at large language models, IoTs. You're also looking at knowledge graphs. And many other cyber security also that was actually mentioned, right? So many of these capabilities could be easily be streamlined, standardized, a single kind of a platform on which it could be enabled, and therefore it brings actually a lot of advantages to the firm, in terms of enhancing or stepping forward, in these capabilities. Some examples I can give is offerings by the Intelligent IO. Then we have AWS products, Microsoft Purview, which takes care of the data governance automations, and as well as the Azure data breaks, which is more the data engineering side of things. So both data governance related activities also can be automated, along with the kind of a well-established data catalog that can seamlessly integrate the data as data is ingested, right? So it makes it a lot easier and allows businesses to focus on things that they are good at, on the business capabilities, building those business and as well as organizational capabilities. Whereas these engineering capabilities, since they are standardized and evolved and sort of settled over a period of time, they could be leveraged and sourced outside.
And one thing that is happening, Mohan, also in the industry, extension of this data engineering as a service, that people are coming up with specific pre-trained models, right?
Yeah.
Pre-trained models that are focused
That-
on certain functionality.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
so
Insights. Samir, back to you.